So welcome back to my studio. My name is Nancy Ewell. I hope you enjoyed the first video, and I hope you sort of understand the intention behind these videos. I'm just inviting you into my space, into my studio. I'm trying to give you a glimpse as to who I am as a person, kind of quirky, and you're probably wondering, does she ever really brush that hair? And I must admit, sometimes at the end of the day, I do look in the mirror and realize that no, I haven't brushed my hair, and I like it that way. So an artist has something up their sleeve, and it's called the blank canvas. And it's magical because every new project always begins with a blank canvas. And you know, we don't need to carry over what we've painted, what we've done, because we can just make it a new canvas. So that's the magic of art, is always beginning with a new canvas. So today I would like to explain a little bit about my art medium. It's called Encaustic Wax. And Encaustic Wax is a combination of beeswax and tree resin. The tree resin comes from Indonesia, and it's called damar resin. And it looks very similar to something like this. This isn't actually damar resin, so don't believe everything you see on camera. But I don't have any damar resin, but this looks very, very similar to it. So it's rock-like, crystal-like. Beeswax. Now you've all seen beeswax, I'm sure. So I make my own medium. So this is already a combination of beeswax and tree resin, and there's certain ratios that you use. I believe these are like 5:1, so 5 parts beeswax to 1 part resin, and you melt them together and you just pour them into molds. So this would be the natural beeswax, and this is what they call bleached beeswax. The bleached beeswax that I purchase, it's done through a natural process. It's not like chlorine bleach or anything like that. They actually process it through a powder to remove any of the impurities, and I guess the natural sort of pigment, and it comes out white. So this is more expensive to purchase, and you would normally use this more on top coats, or if you don't want that natural sort of hue to your work. So you can pigment beeswax. I buy pre-pigmented beeswax. They come in such luscious colors, and there are different companies, and I mean this can get very expensive, unfortunately. And there are other ways of coloring the beeswax, but I really do appreciate the safety of these particular products because the pigment is already in the wax, and it is only pigment in beeswax and tree resin. There's no binders in it or anything like that. So I invest in the best products that I possibly can, and luscious colors. And so over here, I know you can't see this very well, but this is just a pancake griddle. And you only heat beeswax to a fairly low medium. I mean, it's around 200, 180 to 220. You don't want to go above 220 ever. And you want to work in a well-ventilated area. And I'm very fortunate in my apartment, in my second bedroom here, because I have a window here and I have a door behind the camera. So I'm able to get this lovely cross breeze in this room, especially in the summertime, so that I can work safely. So another really important tool with encaustic actually means to burn in. So every layer that you apply to your substrate, and talking about substrates, for an encaustic wax artist, they don't use a fabric canvas. We use a hardwood substrate. So this is actually, you know, birch wood panel. So that would be our blank canvas. And encaustic means to burn in. So every layer that we apply of the wax, we have to apply a heat source to it. And it can be a propane torch, it can be a heat gun, it can be a special iron that I use. But every layer, every little bit of wax has to be adhered to the other layers so that the layers just aren't sitting on top of each other, but they're actually burnt in, they're melted into one another. So they're one continuous form. So a piece, you know, can have so many layers in it. 50 layers would be like nothing in a piece of encaustic wax. And you would apply a layer, and whatever, you know, it might be colored, it might be clear. You would use your heat source and you would burn that in, and then you might scrape it back. So the other thing that we do, another sort of dangerous utensil I have in my studio are razor blades. And so it's this process of adding layers and scraping back, adding layers and scraping back. And that's very, very much like my yoga practice. And the philosophy of yoga is very integrated into this medium. It's this idea of, you know, we think that we are so many things, and then we scrape back, you know, we don't need that, we don't need that, we don't need that. And then it's okay, how are you going to build back those layers? And then it's the same process, and it's like, okay, I don't need that, I don't need that, I don't need that. Until, you know, you're building a masterpiece. We all are building a masterpiece. So, one of the things that I love to do in encaustic wax is called monoprinting. So what is monoprinting? Well, mono means one, and we're all familiar with printing. So on my hot plate here, with my colored waxes and a little bit of just regular medium, I would just paint my palette, my griddle, and I have a variety of objects in my studio. And some of these objects, you know, are purchased from art stores, because every artist, you know, loves a good art store. And there are special tools that you can mark, you know, when you have the wax heated on your palette, and you can make these lovely designs with some of these tools. But, you know, the artist is always creative in everything that they do, and it's not just about art. I mean, any artist will tell you that life is art, and you know, we're creative not just in our studios, but when we're out and about, we're always looking for things that, you know, will also play a part in our artwork. And so, you know, it's about collecting things and looking for the potentiality in an object. I think maybe that's what it all comes down to, is potentiality. Can I use that to make a mark in my studio? So over the years, you know, I've collected different things, thread spools, different little caps, you know, even plastic fork. We'll do the very same sort of pattern as something as expensive like this. This is lovely to work with, though. This was, you know, a trivet. It says a silicone trivet that has a bee pattern to it, the honeycomb pattern to it. And sometimes I love just pressing that into the wax. One of my favorite little marking tools is actually the inside tube of doggy poop bags. So, you know, anything is game as to making a mark in monoprinting. This piece behind me, I want to talk a little bit about that. So that is all colored in monoprints that I've made on my pancake griddle. So once I've, covered the palette with wax and I've done designs in it, I will then take a piece of paper and I print off of the griddle. And then once I've had, that piece of paper, then I can cut it into shapes. So, or I can tear it into different shapes. So the background of this is some torn monoprints, and that's how I get color into my work. And the circles were cut by X-Acto knife. All those circles out of all those different monoprints make up the background of that piece. And this is a diptych, which is 2 panels, and there's a bowl in the center. And this bowl, the white part, in behind the white part, there's actually words written. And those words are, be the light. Because that's why we're here. We're here to be a light in this world. And we are meant to shine. And in this bowl is a 24 karat gold leaf. I wanted the best possible source of light, and the thing that I thought would best represent that was pure gold. So I want to talk a little bit about the meaning of this piece. This piece is called You Complete Me. I was listening to a YouTube video, and I heard this Hawaiian meditation, and it was spoken in Hawaiian, and I don't understand a word of Hawaiian, but there was something about that meditation that just struck me so deeply within that I began to cry. And after they spoke the meditation in Hawaiian, they then translated it into English. So I would like to share that meditation with you, and it's called the Bowl of Light. First of all, I'm going to smudge. And because, I've got this lovely propane torch, why not? A girl loves to play with fire. Nice torch. And we'll just set our sage nicely on fire here. And in ceremony, why do they smudge? Smudge is a cleansing. Sometimes we have things that hang on to us that we're not even aware of. And this is almost like creating that blank canvas. We're just letting go. Letting go of what doesn't need to be on our canvas at this time. And I'll even smudge the work. Smudge my area here. And I'll pass that smoke off to you. May you be cleansed. I wish you could smell the sage. So I invite you to get comfortable. Take some deep cleansing breaths. Maybe you'd like to have a deep inhale, holding the breath, and just allowing your lips to flutter in the exhale. Or not. Inhale. And exhale in community when you are ready. Inhale one more time. And exhale. I'd like you to bring your hands together. Cup them and bring them together as if you were holding a bowl. When you were born with a bowl of light. We were all holding a bowl of light. And I want you to think back as to when there was something unkind said to you. And I want you to imagine that unkind act as a rock in your bowl. And I invite you to think of a time when maybe you said or did an unkind act. And imagine that as another rock in your bowl. We get to a certain point in our life when we are no longer holding the bowl of light that we were meant to hold, but rather we are holding a bowl of rocks. I'd like you to separate your hands and just allow those rocks to release from your bowl. You no longer need to carry those rocks. Now bring your hands back together in that bowl shape. Look down at your hands. You are now holding that bowl of light that you were always meant to hold. In your own time, in your own breath, I invite you to just allow your hands to fall into your lap and open your eyes and see the bowl of light. The bowl of light that you were always meant to hold. Now, monoprinting, to get back to art for just a moment. And of course I don't have any paint over here, just a minute. Monoprinting does not have to do with encaustic wax. I mean, monoprinting you can do with just about anything. So I have some paint here. And of course I don't have any brushes nearby. I mean, painting is not necessarily what I do. I do it sometimes, but not too often. And I do love to get my hands dirty, that's for sure. So I just have a piece of, this is actually an old acetate for those who are as old as I am and know what an acetate is. Just a piece of plastic. Placemat, plastic placemat can do. Anything that the paint doesn't soak into. And I'm just using my fingers here to actually make my design. And hopefully this will come out. Who knows? I mean, you know, it's all about using what you have, hoping for the best, but not, you know, too much let's see. Just trying to get a paper towel down here. I'm going to try and make a mark here so that you get more of the idea. And then once you have your mark, just take a piece of paper. You can either flip the acetate on top of the paper or the paper on top of the acetate and just quickly, you know, lightly burnish it with your hand. You can be fancy, use a spoon, you can actually use a burnisher, but just for demonstration. Turned out better than I thought. So remember to spread the light, spread the love out into the world at this time. I remind you again about heart flag, hanging your heart out your window. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you be peaceful and at ease. Until the next time, I send you love. Thank you.